Hi everyone, Mary Esther, Miranda Gilbert here, continuing on with the Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health series of videos, introducing some of the botanicals that are in the new book that I just published. And so here's the cover of the book, Potent Superfoods, Lifelong True Health, 109 botanicals altogether in this volume. And so, it contains the scientific monographs that I compiled from the scientific research that's been done on so many of these botanicals, all these botanicals in the book, and also with the comprehensive phytonutrient database, all the wonderful healing plant chemicals that are in the plant kingdom. All 109 botanicals in this book contain many, many different phytonutrients that are very essential for our health. I consider them essential. So then there's the supplements and nutrients guide also embedded in the book, not to mention the comprehensive encyclopedia compendium of terms that are in there. So if you run across any scientific terms that you don't know, you can easily look them up right then and there. So everything is very tidily, put together in this over 500-page book. Also including so many scientific citations and references that will back everything up that I assert in the book. So this is my way of introducing the book to the public, just to show them a little bit about what's inside the book. And I hope you enjoy today's presentation. I'm going to be going over the ingredients in a formulation that was started by a medical nurse back in the 1930s. And so today I will back up everything I say with the scientific research that's been proven for many years and people have experienced in their own health improvements and health protections with this very famous formula. So it's called Essiac Tea. And I'll go over the 4 basic ingredients that are in this formulation and show you all of the science that has gone into this formulation's research. All right, so we'll go to page 68 really quickly, which is where we will start this. So the first ingredient is burdock root, the Arcticum lapa L. It's always important to know the scientific term, which is a world agreed upon name in Latin for specific for specific plants, any plant in the plant kingdom. So you want to always be sure you have the right species and the right family and the right plant so that you won't accidentally choose another plant. Sometimes plants are similar in the same family. One could be poisonous, the other one could be totally healing, kind of thing. So this is the burdock root, the first ingredient in the Essiac Tea. Here's some pictures of it. It grows wild in nature, and the leaves and all of that. And then here is the dried root, or the freshly cut root, it looks like. All right, so this tea was originally obtained from a patient who claimed he had been healed after having been given instructions for its use and preparation by a native Canadian healer of the Ojibwa tribe. And burdock has been used therapeutically in Asia's traditional Chinese medicine system, the TCM, as well as in Europe and North America for hundreds of years. The TCM's use of burdock's leaves, roots, and seeds have been studied, revealing the therapeutic effects of its active biochemical phytonutrient compounds. Viable compounds have been found to detoxify the blood, improve blood circulation, skin quality and texture, and resolve skin conditions such as eczema. The roots have been found to contain antioxidant and anti-diabetic properties. The seeds have been shown to be effective anti-inflammatory and anti-tumor effects on pancreatic carcinoma. Leaf extract contains active compounds that have been shown to inhibit growth of pathogenic microorganisms in the oral cavity. Many studies have shown both in vitro or laboratory cell cultures and in vivo live subjects that the polyphenols in Arcticum lapa L are effective antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agents. A group of researchers studied the effects burdock root had on hepatocellular carcinoma, or liver cancer cells in rodents, which they stated have molecular similarities to humans. And you'll see throughout the bullet points here, I have listed the name of the researcher and the year that the research was done. So these are all very full citations at the end of the book so that you can go and look at the scientific research that was actually done. So this is pretty much a summary of what researchers have found, but I always list the researcher or group of researchers there, next to what I'm asserting here. So this is all based on science. Other researchers tested the effects of burdock root in tea on patients with knee osteoarthritis and showed that it significantly decreased inflammatory markers after 42 days, such as C-reactive protein and interleukin-6. These are very common inflammatory proteins that show up in laboratory tests. And also oxidative stress indicators such as total antioxidants capacity, like glutathione peroxidase. All right, so in one study with rodents as test subjects, the effects of various doses of aqueous burdock root extract had on a high-fat diet were evaluated to understand how genes are involved in blood lipid mobulation. Researchers found that the root extract reduced body weight and cholesterol levels, and that 113 genes were involved in metabolic pathways of blood lipid metabolism. So also, the burdock root has been found to be effective for arthritis, cardiovascular disease, rashes, throat pain, tonsillitis, and has been shown to attenuate cholesterol accumulations in the liver and in blood serum. It's also been shown to lower blood lipids in atherosclerosis, so the hardening of the arteries. Now, in Chinese medicine, burdock has been used for clearing the body of toxins and reducing heat conditions, and is accepted for use against gout, hypertension or high blood pressure, and inflammation. Another study showed burdock's actions against glutamate-induced oxidative stress, and another study found burdock reduced inflammation in the intestines of test subjects. A review of Arcticum lapel showed its chlorogenic acids, cynorine, lignans, prebiotic fibers, and quercetin to confirm its antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and hypolipidemic properties, and its protective actions on the gastric mucosa, that's the protective lining of the mucosal cells of the stomach. It has shown beneficial phytochemical compounds, which include caffeic acid, fructose, fructofuranocylindrone, glucose, inulobiosec, sucrose, 1,5-dicaffeolequinic acid, 1-keystone, 1-nystose, and 5,0-caffeolequinic acid. All right, so those are mouthfuls, and these beneficial phytochemical compounds are so named for their molecular structures, and so they have meanings behind these long strings of pronunciations that are mouthfuls. But there's literally over 25,000 that have been discovered so far as of 5 years ago. And in my recent research in the last 5 years, I've noticed even more phytochemical compounds that are always being discovered, and their uses and their effects in the body, such beneficial effects in the body. So another group of researchers found that ethanolic extract of burdock root attenuates NASH, or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis-associated hepatocarcinogenesis, or cancer liver cell production. So the extract reduced the levels of scavenging fatty acid and lipid hydroperoxide radicals, which degrade essential lipids on cell membranes by coveting electrons at the submolecular level. That's how free radicals work. They are looking to steal electrons from our healthy atomic structures in our molecules, in our cells, in our bodies. So the burdock extracts encountered this degradation by increasing the antioxidant actions of the protective superoxide dismutase, a group of enzymes that prevent precancerous cell changes, in addition to their anti-inflammatory and other preventive actions. The burdock extract intervened with hepatocytes or liver cells, proliferation, and diminished the size of preneoplastic lesions, which is the formation of an abnormal mass of tissue. Now, a group of reviewers of various studies found more research reporting the beneficial secondary metabolites of the Archaeum species to also be carminative, which relieves flatulence, and anti-tubercular, destroys mycobacteria that causes tuberculosis, antibacterial, antiviral, antimicrobial, and anti-allergic, and to alleviate fever and sunstroke, heal wounds, alleviate bladder conditions, and help conditions of alopecia, which is an autoimmune disorder that causes hair to fall out, in addition to its anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, antioxidant, hepatoprotective or liver protective, gastroprotective or stomach protective, and anti-inflammatory actions. Biochemical phytonutrient compounds found in the seeds and roots of the burdock root or the burdock plant include a large class of major biologically active polyphenolic compounds known as lignans, attributed to lowered risk of breast cancer, heart disease, menopausal symptoms, and osteoporosis due to their steroid-like chemical structure defined as phytoestrogens. So the burdock root also contains acetylenic compounds found to be antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-edematogenic, prevents edema or swelling of the tissues. And also, roots contain anti-proliferative, preventing cancer cells from spreading, phytosterols and polysaccharides, found to reduce pro-inflammatory cytokines caused by colitis or inflammation of the colon inner lining. Carboxylic acids, active phenolic compounds found in the skin of burdock roots have demonstrated anti-ulcerogenic effects and helped decrease diet-induced obesity. Burdock is rich in antioxidant aldehydes, flavonoids, hydrocarbons, methoxypyrazines, monoterpenes, sesquiterpenes, terpenoids, and fatty acids. And these are pretty much basic classifications of the kinds of phytonutrient compounds that are so beneficial. Adverse effects from reports in the literature indicate that contact dermatitis may develop within 12 hours or days after applying a burdock root plaster to a wound. So they've got some pretty powerful compounds in there that could aggravate the tender cells of the skin. So, it's got to be applied correctly. So be careful when you're applying it to external wounds. Essential oil from the root of A. lapa was reported to cause anaphylactic shock. So a high concentration, which is usually the essential oils, which is the release of chemicals by the immune system that suddenly drops blood pressure and narrows breathing paths, airways, with symptoms that include a skin rash, nausea, vomiting, and a rapid, weak pulse. So, in the scientific community, they test the extremes. So if you have a compound that is very potent, then sometimes it can cause some adverse reactions. So the essential oil of burdock root is not the way to go. Tea form, having the leaves in a salad, or making, any kind of other cooking with it, putting it in foods, that's going to be fine. But you don't want to concentrate some of the compounds that are in some of these very, very powerful, but otherwise perfectly safe plants. Caution against pregnant or nursing women consuming burdock or its extract, for it may be detrimental to the fetus. In other words, some of these compounds may alter the formation of certain body systems that the baby's forming. So, you want to just stay away from these powerful healing plants if you're pregnant. Okay, so not to worry. Otherwise, drinking a mild tea would be just fine, because your system is going to filter out and protect the fetus anyway, which it normally does. So, just everything in moderation when you're pregnant, or very small diluted amounts. Those on blood-thinning medications are cautioned against taking burdock, since it may interfere with normal blood clotting, and are advised to check with one's physician. Okay, so that interaction with blood thinning medications, whereas the plant normally helps with the right type of blood clotting to go in and repair damaged tissues. So if you're on blood thinning medications, it can just conflict with the healing qualities of the plant versus the reduction of the blood's ability to clot in medications. So yeah, sometimes you have to really know what's in the plant and what are the potential effects of it. So now, but the sesquiterpene lactones in burdock should be avoided with those who are hypersensitive to Asteraceae or composite family of plants, including aster, chicory, daisy, ragweed, sunflower, and thistle. So these other plants contain compounds, the sesquiterpenes, that can cause hypersensitivity if you're out in the sunlight, if you're drinking the stuff, if you're drinking the tea that's very concentrated, or you're eating roots which are concentrated forms of the plant's nutrients and phytochemicals. So, again, everything in moderation. So if you're not on any of these blood thinners, or if you're not pregnant, or if your skin isn't prone to be hypersensitive to sunlight, being allergic to other plants in the family, like the asters, the chicories, the daisies, ragweeds, sunflowers, and the thistle. So, when you start taking a plant, you have to be very careful. You have to take it in small amounts and see how your body's going to react. Sometimes these plants, especially in the combination in the Essiac Tea, you have seen already what the beneficial effects are for the burdock root, and there's a synergy. The combination of the other three ingredients with the burdock root creates a wonderful effect for detoxifying and correcting things down to the DNA that have been damaged, and helping the immune system and determining what belongs in the body or not. Since it's an anti-cancer, it's been proven in both living people, animals, versus the laboratory cells that they grow cultures in, and applied the Essiac, components to the culture cells as well. So science has been very, very successful in determining what exactly happens when cells are exposed to this plant. All right, so it's all very positive. Just again, you're dealing with something very, very potent and very, very nourishing, very, very healing, very, very correcting in the system. So people who have been taking the combination of these herbs, these plants, in a tea form have been reporting very, very good reports. You don't hear anything about any kind of these adverse reactions that I list here because it's not in concentrated forms. So everything in moderation. Okay, so that's the burdock. The next one is the slippery elm, and that's on page 185 of the book. So let's go jump to page 185. All right, so let's take the slippery elm, called the Ulmus rubra. So it's derived from the bark of the slippery elm tree. The slippery elm has traditionally been used for edema and upper airway inflammatory conditions such as laryngitis, and is recognized as a safe and effective oral demulcent, which relieves inflammation or irritation by forming a film or coating over the inflamed tissue. Historically, it's been used against irritation or inflammation in tissue, mucosa, or mucosal cell membranes. That's the inner linings of the organs and body cavities. In traditional Oriental medicine for edema and cancer, as a tincture infused in alcohol or tea preparation, or applied topically as a poultice in traditional Native American medicine. It's been documented anecdotal uses include for acidity, coughs, colic, colitis, constipation, cystitis, diarrhea, diverticulitis, gastrointestinal inflammation, hemorrhoids, herpes, irritable bowel syndrome, sore throat, stomach and duodenal ulcers, syphilis, tapeworms, urinary tract inflammation, and urinary tract infections. Reported actions as a result of the collection of anecdotal data on Ulmus rubra include reducing swelling, healing damaged tissue, relieving irritation and soreness in tissue of the mouth and throat. And I need a water break. I've been talking all day. Excuse me one moment. It's important to stay hydrated all day long. Keep a giant cup of a soup bowl of water with you all the time. Okay, here we go. All right, so reported actions as a result of the collection of anecdotal data on ulmus rubra include reducing swelling, healing damaged tissue, relieving irritation and soreness in the tissue of the mouth and throat, relieving dry sore or sore throat or as a singing aid for the voice, soothes and coats mucous membranes in laryngitis, aids in managing acid reflux. The biochemical compounds in slippery elm that have been scientifically investigated include mucilage, including uronic acid, pentose, hexose, and methylpentose, rhamnose, and galactose, and it is composed of carbohydrates that, when added to water, swell and form a sticky, viscous, gel-like consistency, which coats mucous membranes and soothes the reflexes of coughing and throat clearing. Other phytochemical compounds include the capric acid, caprylic acid, decanoic acid, flavonoids, oxalic acid, phytosterols, salicylic acid, and tannins. Tannins are polyphenolic, antimicrobial, antioxidant compounds that bind and precipitate with protein structures such as collagen, healing inflamed skin conditions such as shingles and acute eczema, and facilitate rapid healing. Tannins display strong antioxidant inhibiting actions against damaging free radicals such as reactive oxygen species, lipid peroxidation, protein denaturation, and other free radicals, all of which are produced under oxidative stress. Slippery elm bark has been shown to have systemic anti-inflammatory actions in the stomach and intestines of animal subjects, as well as stimulate immune system activity. Although no scientific studies have been performed on slippery elm safety, history shows no reported side effects with no correlation existing between adverse effects and dosages ingested. There have been a few reports on ulmus rubra's possibly abortive effects in pregnancy, so it is not advocated for pregnant women. A pilot study comprised of two independent groups, the slippery elm group versus the control group that were given orange pekoe tea, found that the test subjects who had consumed slippery elm tea noted and rated any changes. Test subjects stated their throats felt as if they were coated with a layer of some kind of protective covering after consuming the tea in 1, 5, and 10-minute increments. The slippery elm group rated their perceptions of soothing higher than the control group taking in the other tea. Researchers have found that slippery elm has beneficial prebiotic activities in vitro in petri dishes, demonstrating their ability to modulate various microbiota in the gut. Researchers tested the effectiveness of ulmus rubra on 299 profiled pathogenic or illness-causing bacteria from human fecal gut microbiota and found that the herb also increased the many beneficial bacteria known to promote optimal conditions of the colon. It showed increased populations of the beneficial bacteria, included Bacteroides, Bifidobacterium, and Lactobacillus. It reduced populations of the pathogenic bacteria, included Citrobacter frundi and Klebsiella pneumoniae. In the Ayurvedic and other traditional systems of medicine, slippery elm is one of the 3 herbs that are well established for gastrointestinal health and diseased conditions such as abdominal pain, colitis, constipation, and ulcers, while slippery elm alone is used for protecting the mucosal lining of the gastrointestinal tract. Slippery elm is high in polysaccharides, cellulose, lignin, mucilage, gums, and pectin, all of which drive the regulation of gut microbiota. Another group of researchers extracted the beneficial phytochemical compounds in slippery elm, which include beta-arotene, beta-cytisterol, B2-linic acid, botulin, carotenoids, citrostadienol, oleanolic acid, phenols, ursolic acid, and uveol, and showed their effectiveness in vitro against bacterial inflammation in human tonsil epithelial cells. Another group of researchers showed slippery elm's expectorant and immunostimulant properties against colds and flu. And again, I listed all of the scientific researchers' names, groups, and the year that the research was conducted. So throughout this whole book, I only used peer-reviewed studies. So these are all groups of researchers who are highly qualified, a whole panel who evaluated all of the studies ever done on these specific botanicals and their compounds and compiled it into one basic report. So each group of scientists have done all of this research work and utilized the most credible scientific research studies to from which I pulled and make all of these assertions. So again, you don't have to practice medicine without a license. You can just look to see what your nutritional physiology needs and also do your research on all of these wonderful nutrient factors that these foods contain, all these plants in the plant kingdom contain, and how they've been shown through all this hundreds and possibly some of them are thousands of studies through the years to conclude what these wonderful phytochemicals and other nutrient factors do for our bodies. Once it's highly nourished, the body knows exactly how to heal itself. It's written in the DNA code, right in our DNA. The genetic codes, the sequence of genes that are in every single DNA strand, in every single cell in our bodies and all the different body systems. It has the instructions on how to heal the body. We just need the right nutrients and the right phytochemical compounds. All the nutritional factors have to come together. The right molecules that our DNA reads and recognizes and readily utilizes without any side effects or any problems other than health improvement. All right, so that was the burdock. That was the slippery elm. Now, the next one is sheep sorrel, also an ingredient in the Essiac Tea formula that Nurse Casey used back in the 40s to heal her patients. So this is a picture of this beautiful plant. I used to grow this in my yard. Okay, so historically used for inflammation, cancer, diarrhea, and scurvy, sheep sorrel grows prevalently in the United States and is native to Europe, the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. So it's the scientific name is Rumex acetosella, and it's one of the 4 ingredients in the world-famous Essiac Tea as well. Major phytochemical constituents are the anthraquinones, emodin, physion, rain, and also contains oxalates. When you consume a plant that contains oxalates, if you're consuming the enzyme-active raw plant, or if you're consuming it in the form of tea, then the oxalates are either neutralized or also or countered as far as any potential damage they might have, any inflammatory response they might have. Spinach also, some of the other leafy greens contain the oxalates, but if you're consuming them properly, then the oxalates won't be a cumulative problem. It'll be a temporary problem, which the other plant chemicals will counter immediately anyway. So, they all have their purpose in the plant itself. The plant has, an immune system just like we do, and it has, inflammatory reactions like we do, and positive and negative. If the plant's sick, if your body is malnourished, if you're suffering from an illness, then your body won't take care of this inflammatory response properly. So it's all about providing your body with the right molecules from the right foods, from the right plant kingdom, and balancing your proteins and fats and carbs with whole foods, and staying away from the synthetic chemicals and the pesticides and all these things that counter the effects of this wonderful plant kingdom. That was an aside. I do go off in tangents once in a while. But anyway, back to our wonderful sheep sorrel. So the major phytochemical compounds, like I said, are the oxalates and all those others. The anthraquinones, like I just said, also I've already said that. All right, next, traditionally, sheep sorrel is used against cancer, diarrhea, fever, inflammation, and scurvy. Due to sheep sorrel's oxalate content, those with a history of kidney stones are cautioned against consuming sheep sorrel. Okay, so, kidney stones are formed for a lot of reasons, and I go into that in my book, and I go into that with my client consultations, and I'm not going to delve into that right now, but kidney stones are the result of biochemical imbalances caused by nutrient deficiencies or nutrient imbalances. Basically, that's the gist of it. Kidney stones, gallstones, any kind of stones that form the plaques or the calluses are the result of poor nutrition, not enough of the right types of nutrient compounds found in the plant kingdom and the other food groups, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. There has to be a balance. There has to be quality. There has to be, life left in the plants when you're consuming them. They all have balancing effects to counter any possible problems that might occur. All right, so if you're eating a healthy diet full of other plant chemicals, the other raw, fresh fruits, vegetables, and berries, and leafy greens and herbs, if you're eating a diet abundant in those foods, then you won't have any problems with the oxalates. And therefore, you won't form kidney stones, okay? All right, so for over 40 years in Canada, there have accumulated anecdotal evidence through many individual case reports that Essiac Tea alleviates pain and disrupts the progression of cancer. Experimental studies show the tea's biological activity as an antioxidant, anti-choleritic, anti-estrogenic, immunostimulant, and anti-tumor. Studies have been conducted in India, Nigeria, Tanzania, and Turkey. Researchers in Turkey tested the free radical scavenging activity in wild edible greens, including Rumex acetosella, and when collected at the optimal harvesting time, found sheep sorrel to be potent in phenolic compounds and vitamin C, showing it to be an effective antioxidant. Sheep sorrel is also high in the carotenoids, a whole classification of compounds, flavonoids that help build strong and flexible, pliable blood vessels, able to withstand various, levels of blood pressure, and the vitamin E complex known as tocopherols. So this group of scientists apparently, tested that aspect of the sheep sorrel plant. Another group of researchers evaluated the anti-aflatoxinogenic and anti-cholinesterase actions in extracts of the sheep sorrel, as well as its antioxidant and scavenging effects of the radicals that occur in the body. So it's been tested any which way, just like the other plants. All the plants in this book, all the plants in the Essiac formula have been tested extensively, from all directions. And a lot of those researchers come to the same conclusion. So recorded literature has documented that the sheep sorrel is used for diabetes and hypertension also. Roots contain antipyretic, or prevents or reduces fever. It's a cholagogue, or promotes the increased flow of bile, which aids digestion of fats, and a diuretic, which increases the production of urine. So all of these different properties have also been found in the sorrel. So in addition to the carotenoids, it contains vitamins and minerals, and its phenolic compounds in this plant contain flavone glycosides, all of which have antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, and anti-inflammatory actions. Researchers found that in general, the Rumex species contain other beneficial phytochemical compounds, including the anthracene derivatives of aloimodin, barbaloin, chrysophenol, imodin, physion, and stenoside A and stenoside B, demonstrated the highly reactive radical scavenging and superoxide scavenging ability. In other words, it's a super antioxidant, and it'll help neutralize a lot of the scavenging effects of free radicals. Such scavengers are molecules that have been reduced by a single electron, which then seek to capture electrons in atomic orbitals in healthy cells, resulting in their destruction or alteration in normal functioning. Sheep sorrel extract was found to exhibit the highest antioxidant actions that protect against free radical damage. There you have it. Thank you to the team of Kurt and Espilira, 2 different teams and 2 different years that have discovered these effects in the sheep sorrel. So the 4th ingredient and the last ingredient in the official Essiac Tea formulation, and that's on page 197. Let's go to that page. Here it is, Turkey rhubarb, Rheum palmatum, or Rheum palmatum, depending on if you want to pronounce it in Latin or not. I have no idea which is the correct pronunciation. If I did know before, I've forgotten. But anyway, palmatum, I believe, or palmatum. All right, there you have it. Turkey rhubarb, the 4th ingredient in Essiac Tea. All right, so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of research. I'm going to read it all. I want the public to know what is in all of these wonderful plants in our plant kingdom, and how they have wonderful health recovering effects and health protective effects in here. So here we go. You're going to know this Essiac Tea inside and out, and you can also look up, the scientific researchers and all their intricate, very elaborate studies, very, guideline and conforming studies that have been followed, the laws that govern, or the rules that govern in the scientific community, how to conduct a legitimate study. So these are all legitimate studies, and this is the information that I'm pulling it from. All right, so rhubarb is one of the most ancient and commonly used herbs, and is considered one of the most important herbs in traditional Chinese medicine. And excuse me, I'm going to take a drink of my herb tea, which I'm going to have a second cup. This is the most delicious herb tea. It was a gift from a couple of my students. And thank you shout out to Angie and Kate. Thank you. All right, so it's been recorded in the Shendong's Herbal Classic, has been used as a purgative in China since 3000 BC. So these herbal materia medicas that the Chinese culture has preserved have been added to through the hundreds of thousands, thousands of years, hundreds of years, centuries. So it's not like they're really old and ancient and have never been, added to, and updated. So these materia medicals are quite remarkable. They contain the ancient knowledge and the updated knowledge as well. So they're always adding to their base of knowledge, which it should be that way. I'm sure other cultures of the world have preserved their healing knowledge from the plants of the earth as well. Okay, so suggested applications include for constipation, cooling the blood, as the Chinese call it, in other words, anti-inflammatory, diabetic nephropathy, so the deterioration of the kidney functions that happens in diabetes, chronic renal failure, gradual loss of kidney function, dispersing blood stasis, eliminating heat, gastrointestinal bleeding, acute pancreatitis, purging fire, and other conditions. So the Chinese have their own set of terminology, of their own language of healing. And so it's very, very fascinating, very interesting. Surprisingly accurate, it's stunningly accurate. Studies have shown rhubarb's extensive biological activities, including regulating gastrointestinal conditions and as an anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, hepatoprotective, protecting liver health, and cardiovascular and cerebrovascular protective agent. Other research on rhubarb includes its effectiveness on acute ischemic stroke, and that's when oxygen-rich blood to the brain is blocked. chronic kidney disease, acute organophosphorus pesticide poisoning, and acute pancreatitis. Research has also found that turkey rhubarb's biochemical, physiological, and molecular compositions include many beneficial phytochemical compounds, including the anthraquinones and associated glycosides, anthrones, and their glycosides, butyrophenones, chromones, saccharides, stilbenes, and tannins. Again, many, many phytochemical compounds that each have been studied, by the way. In my book, there is a phytochemical database where I research each individual phytonutrient and explains how they affect the body in a positive way, and also the scientific research behind those individual phytochemicals. So this book is very comprehensive, and it'll be a manual. If you purchase this book, it'll be a health reference manual you'll use that you'll want to will to your children, or just have them also, keep that book in their home libraries as well. So if you're going to seriously master your health and manage your health properly, protect and take care of your body the way it was designed, then definitely you want to know more about all these different botanicals that are in this 531-page book. But I'm just going to give you teasers. I'm just giving you information for 10 of the 109 that are in this book. And if you're already impressed by what has been found that these wonderful botanicals do just in this one formula alone, then you'll be really ecstatic when you learn about the other botanicals that are in the book. All right, so other research on rhubarb includes its effectiveness on acute ischemic stroke. I already read that. Hello. Okay, here we go. It's a fine print. Give me a break. All right, here we go. Research has found that turkey rhubarb's biochemical, physiological, and molecular compositions include many beneficial phytochemical compounds, including the anthraquinones and associated, I already read that too, didn't I? Associated glycosides, anthrones, glycosides, butyrophenones. It's good practice to pronounce these terms anyway. Chromones, saccharides, stilbenes, and tannins. Yes. All right, onward. Here we go. Next page. More than 30 anthraquinones have been identified in turkey rhubarb, including rhine, imodin, chrysophenol, aloimodin, and physion, isomedone. I don't even know why I bother trying to pronounce these after a long day of talking. Isomedone. I'm sorry, isomodin. It's time for lunch. All right, and lactic acid, D, aloimodin 8, glucoside, chrysophenol 8 glucoside, physion 8 glucoside, and physion diglucoside. You have to be a biochemist to be able to pronounce these readily if you're always working on discovering what these biochemical compounds do in the body. So I salute, hats off to the biochemists. And thank you for your service, to humankind, to providing us with all of these wonderful benefits that these compounds in plants do for us. All right, so then I break down what each one does. I extracted that from the other parts of the book and just inserted, what these biochemicals do. They protect the kidneys by inhibiting the formation of renal fibrosis, which is an excessive accumulation of an extracellular matrix of tissue, indicating a failure in wound healing and the kidneys. Imodin, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-tumor, helps reduce blood pressure, helps improve the microcirculation, it helps decrease blood lipids or fats. And this other one, chrysophenol, has been shown to protect the nervous system by improving the actions of antioxidant enzymes, proteins that catalyze and reduce the damaging effects free radical reactive oxygen species exert on healthy cells. So, it just demonstrates the good proteins and the bad proteins that the body will produce under different circumstances. It's when the bad proteins are being produced, in a rampage, without knowing how to stop that inflammatory reaction. That's when there are missing components in the diet from the plant kingdom that cause a lot of these inflammatory reactions. So A lot of these phytochemicals in the plant kingdom will help tone that down, will help bring the system back to normal, So, yeah, really impressive. And also, this chemical compound has also been shown to improve learning and memory after cerebral ischemia, reperfusion damage in the brain tissue of mice, and that's the cellular dysfunction and cell death that follows after restoration of blood flow to tissue damaged by post-ischemic conditions. So once you have damage in there and the increase of blood flow that comes back into the area, this particular compound has been shown to help heal that and restore learning and memory. And the Physion is a neuroprotective. It inhibits inflammation after a cerebral ischemia event, also blockage in an artery preventing oxygen-rich blood to the brain, reduces nerve damage caused by reperfusion. Alloimodin has cardioprotective or heart effects, hepatoprotective, liver, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, anti-tumor, immune-regulating, and laxative effects. So if you're constipated, eating a plant that contains this particular compound, that's one of the many compounds that contribute toward softening hardened stools. Many, many wonderful effects. All right, turkey rhubarb also contains the still bean compounds, and that's the, here we go, rapamycin, 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 okay? So you've got to break things down and know the pronunciations of each individual component of these long terms. That's the trick. Which are found to be anti-hyperlipidemic or prevents or lowers high fat levels in the blood and have antioxidant and hepatoprotective effects. Tannins in the turkey rhubarb have been known since the 1980s to reduce the content of blood urea nitrogen, or BUN, where an excess of BUN may indicate kidney malfunctioning conditions, urinary tract obstructions, or congestive heart failure or heart attack. Studies have demonstrated that tannins' astringent properties contract the tissues to help halt bleeding, slow the movement of feces in the colon, if you've got, loose bowels, and have been shown to help adjust damage to DNA caused by the genotoxic chemicals, the carcinogens, the mutagens, teratogens, known to cause genetic mutations and lead to malignant changes or cancer. So the phytochemicals butyrophenones and chromones in R. palmatum have been confirmed to be analgesic, relieving pain, anti-inflammatory, reducing pain, swelling, redness as a result of dilation of capillaries, and reducing heat and immune system reactions. Chromones actions include vasodilation or widening of blood vessels, decreasing blood pressure, reducing cholesterol, and is an antibacterial. The polysaccharides are phytochemicals with expansive biological actions. Turkey rhubarb polysaccharides have been shown to lower blood sugar, protect the liver, support cell growth and proliferation of the intestinal epithelial cells, as well as exhibit anti-neoplastic properties, that's blocking the formation of new cancer cells, and prevent cellular senescence, cells that stop dividing but do not die and may play a role in the development of cancer. Turkey rhubarb has been used for respiratory distress syndrome in clinical settings. The anthraquinone imodin in turkey rhubarb has demonstrated its anti-inflammatory effects on periodontal tissue in periodontitis conditions in test animals, and together with rine was shown to reduce fibrosis or scarred tissues in the kidneys, liver, lung, pancreas, and cardiovascular systems. The anthraquinone rine is also shown to reduce inflammatory factors in type 2 diabetes mellitus, adult onset diabetes. Alloimodin showed it can decrease the production of the inflammatory proteins known as cytokines, which have an effect on interactions and communications between cells, including immune cells. Other studies have shown how turkey rhubarb's anthraquinone imodin inhibited the proliferation of pancreatic tumor cells and promoted their self-destruction or apoptosis in vitro in the laboratory. So rheum palmatum's actions of its anthraquinone derivatives include antibacterial activities in vitro on methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus bacterium, that bacterium that is resistant to the typical antibiotics, by altering its cell membrane permeability, disrupting the protein synthesis, and inhibiting its respiratory metabolism. All right, so clinically, it's been shown to have hemostatic action on upper gastrointestinal bleeding due to severe brain damage, where it reduced healing time and increased recovery rates. Turkey rhubarb's extensive pharmacological and beneficial bioactivities offer many health protective properties, but it is not suitable for long-term use. Studies indicate that prolonged use of turkey rhubarb may induce abortions, and large doses over time have been shown to have toxic effects on the liver and kidneys. So, a lot of these studies, a lot of this information may seem contraindicated. Should I take this formulation or not? Well, take a look at the scientific research and see the details that is explained so much more intricately than I've presented here. I mean, this is a lot of overwhelming information as it is, but this is really a summary of what these plants do and the extensive research that's been implemented on these different plants and their compounds. All right, so I've heard nothing but positive reports back from using Essiac Tea over the 45 years. I've recommended this to people, educated people about it, and so they decide to try it and they get well. The body knows how to use these nutrients to restore it to optimal functioning, down at the cell level. So we walk a fine line here. The medical industry will have you believe that we're practicing medicine without a license. No, we're not. We're showing what these plants that are put here on Earth for us to consume, what they do to correct any malfunction that was due to a nutrient deficiency and toxicity in the first place. That's just what plants do. That's what nutrition does. Nutrition will restore optimal functioning at the cell level. And all of our body consists of different types of cells interacting together, communicating together. It's an ecosystem, it's an organism, organized system. So several studies and trials have reported that turkey rhubarb to be effective for sepsis. It's a severe inflammatory condition due to infection. How does infection happen? Bacterial invasion, sepsis, and just the immune system's inability to clear out these invasive organisms. So yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you put in your body or what you don't put in your body that it desperately is searching for. The oldest and most renowned Chinese medical classic reference, the Huangdi Internal Classic, Huang Dai, maybe it's Huang Dai. I apologize if I don't pronounce these foreign terms properly. Such a beautiful language. All the different foreign languages are just so amazing. They sound so beautiful. So anyway, we've got the Huang Dai Nai Jing, shows records of various sepsis-related indications, and the treatise on febrile diseases, or the Shan Han Lun, from the Eastern Han Dynasty, is the oldest Chinese medical monograph on the subject of infectious diseases. Later in the Jin and Huan dynasties, febrile disease theory was introduced, furthering clinical science knowledge in Chinese medicine, and also documented in Shen Nong's herbal classic, Shen Nong Ben Chao Jing, the oldest Chinese materia medica. I sure hope that those of us who do research on botanicals and their wonderful effects in our bodies, I sure hope this knowledge is preserved for generations to come, thousands of years. With 27 different studies analyzed for turkey rhubarb's effectiveness on sepsis, it was concluded that more modern-day trials and improved methodologies would further confirm its ancient use for infectious conditions. And that's just it. Whenever I have introduced the scientific data behind the nutritional healing protocols that I compiled for clients, based on their own specific individual needs, then lo and behold, they get well, okay? And their physicians are always so happy because they know that drugs produce side effects that produce a lot of these health issues. And they may do a certain, service to help a patient, but when it comes right down to it, the body will pick and choose what the best molecules are for it. All right, nature is so much more complex in its ability to restore the body than people realize. Rheum palmatum root extracts of flavonoids and phenolics are known for their antimicrobial properties, demonstrating antifungal actions against ringworm or the trichophyton mantagrophytes, overgrowth of Candida albicans, which is that much feared, yeast infection that can appear on the tongue as well, as other areas, and Aspergillus fumigatus, which causes severe pulmonary infections, lung infections. Researchers reported that severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, was attenuated when R. palmatum's compound imodin blocked both the ACE2 and the SARS-CoV-S protein from binding and prevented infectivity of S protein pseudotyped retrovirus to Vero E6 cells. So we have millions of viruses that have been part of our lives for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. But and science has been isolating each one as they arrive and naming them, right? So we've got all these different names for all these different microbials that invade the body. Turkey rhubarb's compound, but by the way, the plant kingdom is here to rescue us, to help improve the immune system to destroy these invasive microorganisms. Our bodies are super that way. It knows how to destroy these invasive microbials. That includes bacteria, not just viruses, bacteria, and the parasites, the microscopic parasites, and the large parasites that invade the intestines. God help us, and just the fungi, like the candidiasis. So our bodies know what to do. We just have to give it the right molecules, the right stuff. Turkey rhubarb's compound chrysophenol has demonstrated anti-ulcer actions in healing damage to the intestinal lining caused by aspirin and alcohol, and heals pyloric ulcers induced in laboratory rodents. So, 17 phytochemicals in turkey rhubarb were studied for their inhibitory effects of monoamine oxidase, or MAO, on rodent brain mitochondria. Mitochondria is the energy-producing factories in living cells, and that includes animals, plants, and humans. The phytochemical compound imodin repressed this free radical enzyme involved in removing important neurotransmitters, norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine from the brain, showing its ability to counteract Parkinson's disease. So in my studies, in my research, in all these different botanicals, showed that the so-called, non-reversible conditions have been shown to reverse these said conditions. Researchers confirmed the antiviral activity of imodin, one of the main constituents of rheum palmatum, against human enterovirus and infectious respiratory conditions. And this was, as recent as 2020. Research on botanicals and their healing properties, their health restorative and protective properties or detoxifying properties are ongoing. So it's great to stay up on the latest research on these wonderful botanicals that are gifts to us, gifts to humankind, gifts to animals, gifts to the environment. A lot of these plants will also, help regulate the environment as much as animals do. So we humans have to play our role too, to contribute to the health of our inner ecosystems and the ecosystems that are nested in nature throughout the world, locally, worldwide. And with that, I conclude today's presentation. Thank you so much for hanging in there. If you're still here, please like, share, and subscribe, and tap the notification bell. Help me get the word out to these healing properties of these wonderful, amazing plants. They have so many uses. You know, in the same book, I do show the different uses for the different plants. And so all 109 plants that I feature here in this book. So yeah, I mean, if you want to purchase the book, please educate yourself and help educate others, encourage others to purchase the book. I'm going to show you my website so you can see where the book is. Books by Mary Esther Gilbert right here. It goes right to the books that I've written so far. I've got 2 more in the works that will soon be published, which I feature right here, Eating for Physical Power and Stamina for Athletes, and also the Nutritional Synergy System. I'm changing the book cover, but that's still the title of the book, and it features the Nutritional Synergy System that I created many years ago that clients have been using to get well and to improve their health, you know, and to vary extensively what they eat. There's just a great variety. It's a great system. That's another show, another video, but I will be definitely doing a video introducing these 2 books when they're published. So going back to the Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health, it's gotten 100% 5-star reviews on Amazon, and I'm so glad because I spent months, 18 months, researching this book, and then another 10 months adding, you know, doubling the amount of botanicals that are in this edition of this book. All right, so you can order a printed copy, and you can order the ebook version as well. So again, thank you for being here, and I hope you got a lot out of this. You don't have to take notes if you don't want to. Just review the video, refer to the video, or you know, just take your own notes. Share this information with people who desperately need it. The human body is desperately searching for these compounds, these very natural, very compatible, 100% biocompatible compounds that our bodies are desperately searching for every day to do the repair work to protect us from all these dreaded common diseases. And they should not be common. So that's why it's important to know your own nutritional physiology and all that it needs. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.